Hi, do you have a tween or preteen in your house? Are you looking to parent with more grace, enjoy the stage of parenthood, and want to just make sure that you're connecting in a way that's holy but also fun? If so, please stick around. Stacy Halbach, the author of Bloom and Level Up, is going to give us 3 tips on how to connect with our tween and parent with grace. So, Stacy, thank you so much for being here today. Please tell us about yourself, and I can't wait to take notes and learn from you.
Well, thanks so much, Amy, for having me. I think you and I have similar hearts, so I'm excited to have this conversation with you. We have similar ways that we want to minister to others and share what we've learned and how we failed and all those good things. But I am a mother of 6, and I have 2 girls and I have 4 boys. My oldest is 17, or about to be 17 next month. And then my youngest are boy-girl twins who are 6. So we've got some middle schoolers in between, and it's been wild for sure. And I love it. It's such an adventure. My husband, Matt, and I have been married for almost 18 years. And he was going to be a priest. I was going to be a nun. And then God called us together. So we have one of those stories. We've always been in ministry. We've always had hearts to share what God's doing in our life. And that's always been a priority in our family with our kids, which really directs kind of our conversation today. So it's been such a privilege. And I really have been unfolding the, sanctification of parenthood and all of the difficulties that we have with the different ages. It all has value, the good and the bad. So I've learned to kind of embrace the bad as well as the good, because it all has purpose if we bring it to the Lord.
We do have so much in common. I have boy-girl twins that are 7.
Do you really?
My husband's name is Matt.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Like 18 years.
Are we the same person?
I know.
I'm just kidding.
So, yeah, the reason why we're having this discussion, Stacy and I, is because we both wrote books for that age where it's you're not really a kid anymore, but you're not a teen, or you're a very young teen. So I wrote Be Yourself, and Stacy wrote Bloom and Level Up. So I just want to hear from you as a mother of 6 and someone who has, my oldest is only 12. So we're just like starting this. So yeah, share with us what you have discovered that allows you to enjoy these years, but like really, really connect with what seems to be a natural age to not want to connect.
Yes. Well, and so that tween age is really tricky because I feel like it really depends on the kid. It's a time where they're really trying to figure out who they are. That's why I love your journals, because I really feel like it helps give them some practical, fun, interactive tools to kind of help unfold who they are and who they're becoming, who they want to become. So I'll start with kind of Bloom a little bit and why I wrote Bloom, because that kind of leads in here. So my daughter started showing some signs of puberty and kind of that transition. We say tweens, and when I think tweens, yes, we're thinking of that like 10 to 12, right before the 13, but it also represents kind of this stage of childhood where you're starting to see physical signs and even emotional and intellectual signs of the little kids becoming young adults. Does that make sense? Like, it's just this transition period. And tweens is kind of like the beginning stages of that. So even though my daughter was 8 when she started showing signs of beginning the process of puberty, I would say she was kind of exhibiting some of those tween signs, if you will, even though she was only 8. But, I still welcome that into this age range of kids that we're kind of ministering to. So she was starting to ask questions, and things were starting to change in her body. She was starting to stink. I feel like that's like the herald of puberty. When your kids really start to stink, you can't ignore it. And I think it's there on purpose. I think they stink on purpose to get our attention, to go, okay, they stink. Like, here's this alarm bell. You need to start talking to them about all the changes that they're going to experience. And anyway, she started to stink, and I was slowly starting to tell her, okay, your body is beginning these changes. And she's like, what changes? Like, what am I experiencing? And I noticed kind of this, okay, what do I need to be prepared for? And so I was thinking to myself, oh, there's got to be some kind of, because there's so much I want to tell her, but I didn't want to fire hose her, because the attention span of our kids these days is just like minuscule. And I wanted to encourage her to come and talk to me, but not like, oh, I don't want to ask mom a question because it's going to be 2 hours later before I can go and play my screens or whatever. So I was like, how can I share with her all the things on my heart, but do it in a deliberate way that really is involved in our faith, that kind of trickles the truths of our faith, because that's what brings us joy and peace. That's what we all desire. So much of what can be found, what we're looking for, can be found in our Catholic faith. So I was like Googling, puberty resource for Catholic girls, nothing. Resource for Catholic girls about femininity, nothing. There was a lot of like Christian things, which I'm not dogging. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful things there, but I was thinking of JP2, saints, theology of the body, like all this like Catholic, Eucharistic, the sacredness of the body, like that's very Catholic. That's like uniquely Catholic. And it would be missing from a Christian perspective. And then you had great resources that were like the American Girl resource with like the girl's book or body book. I forget what it's called, but that was really effective in helping to learn about our changes in a body positive way. But there was no God. There was no creator. They kind of talked about dignity without calling it dignity. So again, incomplete, good, but incomplete. So I was like, okay, there's got to be something. I searched and I didn't. And I was talking to my friend about it. She goes, maybe you need to write it. Okay. Like I wasn't scared by that idea. And I was really like, okay, maybe I should. Because like, as I was looking, I was coming up with ideas of ways to search for something. Okay, maybe theology body book for girls or whatever. And all these like examples kept coming to me, which is the Holy Spirit. I think those of you who have charisms and know your charisms can recognize when they're firing, right? And so all these ideas kept coming. And all this to say, Grace, my daughter, is the one who inspired this book. And the book is written to, it has to be done through connection. That's the reason why I wrote this book, is that it doesn't work in a vacuum. It doesn't work for moms to read by themselves or daughters to read by themselves. You have to read it with them. And that's kind of the lead into or to what we're talking about today. One of the best ways that we can parent our tweens with grace is through connection, and an intentional connection that is enjoyable, and that focuses on them and what they're going through and the questions that they have, and really creating opportunities for them to ask questions. I think sometimes we as parents wait to see when their kids are ready. So that they haven't asked me any questions, so I'm guessing they're not ready to hear it yet. I think sometimes it's up to us parents to create opportunities for them to ask questions. Give them the words and say, have you ever experienced this? Do you have questions about that? Rather than like, hey, any questions about, your body changing or sex, or whatever. Because that puts the onus on them. And I think they're freaked out because they don't know the boundaries yet. They don't know what's safe. They don't know what's appropriate. And they don't want to like go too far or ask a question they think will shock you. So anyway, these books that I wrote, and even your books are meant through the lens of connection. I think it's just super important. So again, I can keep talking. I think that's the first way. If we're talking about 3 ways, because there's a lot, I wrote down a lot of ways to parent those tweens with grace, but I want to focus on connection first. Do you have anything to say about connection before I continue?
Well, I have a question. Like, what are some
Sure.
examples in where you foster that connection or create the moment to?
Yeah. So many things can be said. I'll say this. Really quality connection has to do, if you have a large family and many kids, I would say one of the first examples of that quality connection is one-on-one time. I think sometimes I'm with my kids all day. What do you mean I have to connect with them? There's something really sacred about pulling one of your children aside and giving them your undivided attention, which leads me to languages of love. And that I think is a huge parenting must, to know not only your own language of love and how you receive and give love, but of your children. And once they get to about that 8-year-old age of reason, about that time is probably the earliest that you can start that language of love. Before that age, every single language of love is what you have to pour on your kids. But they start to favor one about that 7.5, 8.5-year-old stage. They start to favor a language of love. So mine is quality time. And I can tell you that quality connection, that quality time that I crave involves putting screens away. You can watch a show with someone and talk about it. That counts for me. But like if I'm talking to you, Amy, and then all of a sudden you pick up your phone and start like checking messages, it breaks my heart. It makes me feel so bad, which is becoming a kind of frequent practice, which is kind of sad that I think people have forgotten the language of love, of quality time. So when we're together and we're going out to eat, put your phone away, or if you pull your kid aside and you watch a show with them, put your phone away so you can watch what they're watching. And afterwards you guys can talk about it. So that quality connection, I feel like has to be one-on-one. You have to put your phone away or turn it on silent or put it away so that you can focus on what they're doing. One of the best examples and the easiest ways, I think, to connect is something called tuck-in time. That's something I've learned through Jordan Page years and years and years ago. And it has been a huge influence on my family. We've been doing it for the last, 7 years. Tuck-in time is every kid gets a different night because we don't do weekends just because my weekends are crazy. So I have 5 nights during the week. And really it's Monday through Thursday because Friday night I think is kind of more of a weekend night. So Monday through Thursday, I have to stack because I've got 6 kids and only 4 nights. So my twins who are 6, they go to bed earlier. But tuck-in time is basically this. You let each kid have a different night. They get to stay up 15 minutes past their bedtime. That alone is going to get the attention of your kids. They're going to go, oh, I get to stay up. Okay, let's do it. Now, during tuck-in time, you get to pick one snack and you get to spend 15 minutes doing whatever you want with one of your parents. So that has been every single one of my kids from 6 to 17 love tuck-in time. It's our time that is scheduled on a weekly basis. And if you think about it, 15 minutes a week, sometimes 15 minutes rolls into 30, depending on what their needs are. And if you're watching a show or whatever it is, so be loose with it. But it has been huge. So the kids really look forward to it. During that tuck-in time, it helps me as a mom focus on, I know their language of love and I have to hit on it. And so sometimes, like, for example, my son Joseph, who's 12, his language of love is physical touch, 100%. And so sometimes we'll literally just lay on the couch under a blanket and talk. Like we'll just snuggle. And he's 12. And well, actually he's 13 now. He just turned 13. It's hard for parents to imagine. My 13-year-old boy still wants to snuggle with me. He does. Sometimes my 17-year-old son will ask for a hug. I would say 6 nights out of the week, he'll ask for a hug that lasts at least 30 seconds, if not a minute long. Okay, mom can have a hug. And I know I have to put everything down. I have to like stand in the stance because I know it's not going to be a quick, butt out hug where you just kind of tap. It is a full on hug. Let me hold you. And let me just, because they need that. They need that still. They're never too cool for it. So anyway, the tuck-in time has been big to help make sure, to ensure that it's kind of woven within our weekly nights that each kid gets at least 15 minutes with me or my husband. And they get to choose, and they get to sometimes it's playing video games and showing me what they're doing. Sometimes it's watching YouTube shorts,
So you separate the twins, right? Because you need one.
Yep. So Joy has, Joy's my girl. She has Monday earlier. She goes to bed an hour earlier than the rest of the kids. So she has 15 minutes during that time. And then Pax is the next night on Tuesday. And then we've got Grace on Monday, and then Joe on Tuesday, and then Ben on Wednesday, and then Mike on Thursday. So,
wow.
It's nice. We love it. It has been huge. And I think
great advice. Great advice. I think last night I put my phone upstairs after dinner, and I think I really need to do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea too. I think that's the time where I get stuck in scrolling at night. Because I feel like the meals are done, the chores are done, the baths are done, PJs are on. Like I that's my time that I check out because I feel like, okay, I've shown up as their mom. So now I don't feel guilty. And then like an hour and a half later, I'm like, what did I do? I had all these plans for what I was going to do with my free time and I wasted it. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great idea. Put your phone away after dinner.
Yeah. And just even if you're watching a show, like not that. Yeah. I wrote down tuck-in time. And I like that you gave an example of language of love because my oldest is 12 and he probably would appreciate what your 13-year-old likes too.
Yeah.
All my kids love touch. Like
I feel like
I laid on the couch the other day and all three of them laid on top of me.
You know what? I feel like Mass is that way. As soon as we sit down in our pew at Mass, like I've got like all my kids want to sit on my lap, like even my 13-year-old. I'm like, dude, I need a whip. I need to bring a whip to Mass. I'm like, I love you, but like,
I know,
there's only one lap here.
7 and they still want to sit on my lap. And I'm like,
yeah.
Do you sit on my lap? You're going to have your first Holy Communion soon.
I know. Right?
Yeah, I kind of, just let them.
I know. I'm like, what's the cutoff? When is it like weird for you to be sitting on my lap? I'm like, where's the boundary here?
So what are some other languages of love?
Mm-hmm. Say that again. What was the question?
So what are some other languages of love?
Oh, yeah. So if you Google language of love quiz, go to the Gary Chapman. It's the 5lovelanguages.com, I think is his website. It's a free quiz and it's interactive. You can do it online. I encourage each of you to, for your first tuck-in time, to do the 5 languages of love. So get whatever snack that they want. And ours are popcorn or hot cocoa. Those are usually like our tops during the wintertime. And we go online and we take the language of love.
So even the kids.
Say it again.
Even the kids take it.
Oh, no. Yeah, for sure. So you
facilitate
it. So you ask them the questions and then they respond. And so you kind of help lead them through it. Once they get to like, I don't know, probably 12, they could take it on their own. They actually have suggestions. So if you go to the quiz, they'll ask you how old you are. And I think it's like 8 to 11 or something. Parents help. They help like read the questions, make sure the kids understand. But then there's like, you're a kid, here's a quiz that you take on your own. And then you just get to the results. And then you talk to them about the results and say, so when I come home from work and I bring you a little candy bar, like you really feel loved. That would be gifts. That would be an example of gift giving. So I have one of everything in my family. So I have really had to stretch because mine is quality time. So you just sit there and talk to me and I feel super loved. But got a kid who loves physical touch. I love it. I have a kid who loves receiving gifts. I have a kid who is words of affirmation. They want you to tell them how beautiful they are, how funny they are, how smart they are, how proud of them you are of them. And then there's acts of service. You made my bed, you cleaned my room. I saw that you did that, Mom, and that really meant a lot to me. Mom, this dinner is incredible. Thank you so much for spending the time to make this dinner. Like that's acts of service. So those are the 5: quality time, gift giving, physical touch, words of affirmation, and acts of service. And there's such opportunities. I love that families are like this. JP2, he says he learned virtue in the arena of his family. And I love that. I love that idea that you don't have to go out and feed the homeless to practice virtue. It's meant to be, the family is meant to be this initial arena for us to practice selflessness, for us to practice loving, not in the way we prefer. It's good to know how we prefer so that we can say, I feel unloved. I really would appreciate if you guys helped me clean the kitchen. Like if that's your language of love, is acts of service, letting your family know that's how you love me. If you love me so much, I love your hugs and everything, but help me clean the kitchen. And then I feel really loved. Like giving them practical ideas to love you is great. But anyway, having the opportunity in your family to step outside of your preferred love language and love in the way they prefer you to love them. It's an example of selflessness, but it's also kind of weaving that agape love, that selfless love, into these earthly ways of giving and receiving love. So it's sanctifying. And that's what we want to do with our kids and our family. So creating that connection and those regular opportunities to love your children, connect with them one-on-one in the language they prefer, in a manner they're comfortable with. It's priceless. Yeah.
This is great. So tell me if I got this right. So we're doing like 3 ways to parent your tween with grace.
Yeah.
First one is one-on-one time.
Yeah, I would say connection. So just on that real quick, because that's the umbrella, that's the foundation. And I feel like we can kind of build things onto that. But some of these other things don't work as well if we don't have that base ground of connection. I have to share real quick. So one of the things I do in my part-time is I work with the pro-life ministry that we have, and we go into Catholic schools and we talk about, it's basically middle school. It's not sex ed because it has a foundation of human dignity and good people skills and how to know yourself and assess your own needs, things like that. And it leads up to your body changing, how sex is a gift when it's ordered. And, it kind of just builds on that. But one of the things that we learned in our training has just profoundly affected me. The training that we went to, the first thing she said was, you guys are familiar with the Surgeon General, right? And you're like, yeah, like you always see a Surgeon General warning on like a pack of cigarettes or like on a bottle of vodka or whatever it is. It's this warning. So it's a government run person that researches and assesses the threats to our nation and the threats to the health of our nation. Okay. So I've always associated Surgeon General with like drugs or things that can like damage us. Right. Mm-hmm. So the Surgeon General came out with a new warning in April of 2023. And guess what it is? Loneliness. Wow. Loneliness is the biggest threat to our society. Loneliness as a lack of connection, as a lack of quality connection. The PDF you can read online if you Google Surgeon General warning 2023 loneliness. It is the research found is staggering. There are families who they spend time together, but none of them feel connected. We have lost the art of connecting well.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And one of the statistics there is the loneliness people feel is more harmful for your health, physical health, cardiovascular health, cancer, all that stuff is as harmful as smoking. Could you imagine your kids smoking? I mean, it's a wake-up call, And so that really makes what we're talking about here that much more important. It's not just their souls. As if the souls aren't even worth caring for. Their souls are, of course, very, very important to care about. But not only is it a spiritual dimension, it's a physical dimension that we have to care for. And that connection to not only your family unit, but again, family is that arena that we learn things from. So if they learn how to connect and foster quality connections within their home, they will in their school, they will in their workplace, they will at the place they volunteer, they will at their church. We have such an influence on our children. And I think if we're connecting with them well, we're teaching them the building blocks to having a very successful and healthy life. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to mention the importance of that. Tuck in Time is a great start. Another thing that we do is family dates. Big family here, going out to eat is expensive. I get it. But it is important, especially if you have kids whose language of love is gift giving. Because when you spend money, and this is what I've learned, is that you can't just come up with some kind of cheapy gift and give it to them. They appreciate it, but they want your money. And it's not that they're selfish, or it's not that they are shallow. It's literally saying money is important, but you're more important. Mm. You are more important to me than the number in my bank account. That's huge. Like, that's a really practical way of showing love. And so I am a very thrifty person. I don't like spending money. And my 14-year-old Ben, he's a freshman this year. He has always been language of love. His language of love is gifts. And so he'll ask, can you buy me that? And I'm like my immediate reaction no, what happened? Is it your birthday? Is it Christmas? You have not earned this. It's this. It's been really difficult for me. And upon reflection, if your kid asks for a hug, you wouldn't say, "Is it your birthday? Is it Christmas? Did you earn it?" Right? Mm. And so he's the only one of my kids that when he asks for something, I really try to say yes, because that is his primary love language. Yeah. And parents are saying, oh, aren't you worrying about being like spoiling him? I'm like, do I spoil my kids who ask for hugs?
But do the other kids get mad that especially with my twins, you buy one something, the other one is going to lose their mind.
Yes. But what we try and say is, fairness isn't giving everyone equal. Mm-hmm. Fairness is giving everyone what they need. And they understand language of love really well, because that's a big thing. Yeah. It's a big thing we talk about. It's a big thing that we express. Because another one of the things is, how's your love tank? That's what Gary Chapman, who wrote and came up with the love languages. he gives talks and all this stuff, and he'll say,
I
"You
heard
check in."
but that did help me.
Yeah,
It's good to be reminded of these things.
yeah, right. Sometimes
When
we
the
forget.
kids were younger, I was like, oh, their love bucket's not full.
Mhm.
Like, it must have been something. I didn't come up with that. My parents never said that.
No, I think that's what maybe it is, love bucket, not love tank.
No, well, yeah. And I remember thinking, if I hug them more in the morning, they'll behave.
Mhm.
The behavior just is better.
What you just said is one of the main reasons why we've continued with tuck in time, because sometimes you're done at the end of the day.
I am done.
I mean, I get it. I get it. And my daughter will come to me, Mom, it's tuck in time. I have to try really hard to not be like, oh, yes, you're right. It's tuck in time. I'm so excited. Because sometimes you're done. Like, I love them. And sometimes you're in the mood for it. Sometimes you're not in the mood for it, right?
Right.
But it's worth pursuing, because if I have tuck in time with them, their behavior for the rest of that week is so good. They're attentive, they're obedient.
I'm like choking up. Like, I hope you were enjoying this conversation.
Yes.
Much as
Yes.
This is fantastic.
I'm so glad.
If you have any last tips, let's do that. And then I want to make sure you show your books if you have.
Yes. Okay. So another thing that I have is establishing a safe zone. So as your kids start to go through life and have some complicated questions, and it's going to get a little explicit here. And I say that because we can't hide. Our tweens are experiencing things hormonally, boys especially. The chance of coming across something on screens that's inappropriate, even just the fantasy life of our kids, wondering what so-and-so looks like naked, those things start to happen. And it has been an understanding that they go through that alone. And one of the ways we can parent with grace is by making yourself a safe zone for them to talk to. So during that tuck in time, or that regular time that you get together, making sure that you, A, don't react to some of their questions, but B, don't be afraid to go there with them. And without naming names, there have been conversations where I have been like, hey, things are starting to change in your body. Have you ever wondered about sex? Or have you ever wondered about this? Or is there anybody that you're looking at? And sometimes they clam up and go, oh God, no, Mom, I don't want to talk about it. And that's okay, but you've gone there with them. And then you can even say, hey, listen, I was boy crazy when I was a girl, and there was no one I could talk to about it. And I felt really bad and guilty about it. I felt like there was something wrong with me, that I would think about kissing this boy, or I would think about, holding hands or snuggling with this boy. And, I would get all these feelings in my body. Like, my daughter would be like, yeah, I feel that way. I'm feeling that way. And the relief on her face was priceless. I was willing to go there with her. I was willing to say, hey, I struggled through this, and I want you to know that I can be there to listen and maybe even give you advice if you're wanting that. We go to confession a lot as a family because we're aware of what a mortal sin is. And as our boys, progress through teenage years, masturbation is common. It's not, it shouldn't be, but it is. And instead of, how dare you, it's more like, listen, we all know what it's like to fail.
Right.
Sin is hard, and it makes us feel shame, and it makes us feel disconnected. And I don't want the devil to win here. The devil won once.
Passion. It's such a gift.
It is, especially as a family. And so what we have found through establishing, and my husband is to credit for this, because as a mother, there is this death. There's a death of my little boy is gone when we find out for the first time, what has been happening or what has happened or whatever. And again, there are kids who just don't seem to struggle the same way as others. In our family, we're a bunch of strugglers, and that's just kind of who we are. But I remember mourning, really having a funeral for my expectations of my little boys are growing up. And luckily, my husband was so understanding of, he was just, listen, we have an opportunity here to free them from shame. And in our faith, this is what we have to preach. Mercy is what we preach. And yes, we tell them what is right and what ought to be. But when they mess up, because they will, because we all do, we all have perfect parents. We have God as our parent, as our loving Father, and we mess up all the time. So if we can establish, you know what, I screwed up again, and I am so filled with shame, I want to hide. That's how we all feel, right? If we can establish as a family to not hide when we sin, but to say, hey, I need to go to confession. Anybody want to come? That's the norm for our family now. So my 17-year-old son, he can drive. He'll ask all of my boys, who needs to go to confession? And he'll look them straight in the eye and he'll say, who needs to go to confession? And he'll drive them. And it's something that like, that's
brother.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like he, like, go man, but we had to do that to him first, right? And so it's just this understanding that during that connection time, be a safe zone. Let them know what is right and what is wrong. Do not be permissive in that way, but encourage them to mercy. And you do that through the way you and your husband treat one another. When we mess up with one another, we model for our kids. I need a confession. Anybody want to come? You know, because we're not perfect. Yeah. We all need God. Okay.
I thought of something when you were talking to a friend of mine. It's a chastity speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And she has said, because she'll go into schools, and she says, when I interviewed her, she said, parents, they want to hear your stories.
Mm-hmm.
They want to talk. They want you to talk to them and tell them when I was young, this,
yes.
And to share that. So you kind of said that too. So I just wanted to reinforce that she gets that message when she goes in and talks to, high school kids and middle school kids. They want to hear from us.
And I think we need to hear from young us too. I don't know about you, but I'm a different person now than I was when I was 14 years old.
Oh,
and I have learned, I've prayed more. I've encountered the mercy of God in a deeper way with every passing year. And sometimes I forget what was on my mind when I was 14 years old. And so when my 14-year-old starts talking about things, I'm shocked. Sometimes I am shocked. I am shocked and appalled by like what they're talking about. And then I remember, oh yeah, that was me when I was 14. So I think it's not only beneficial for us to share with them, listen, what you said doesn't shock me. I was there. I lived that, and it helps them to know that they're not alone. It helps them to know that there's room for growth here. Because if my mom was like that, and again, because here it's a difficult conversation because you don't want to go into detail. You don't want to scandalize them.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you have boundaries, and you also don't want to permit them to make mistakes. But you can say, listen, like what I've said with my son is, the more I dated and the more I loved, the more my heart was broken when it didn't work out. And I don't want that for you. That risk is something that is your responsibility. But I have to tell you, like, I fell hard for a lot of different boys, and I felt that they were my world, but they weren't. Spoiler alert, they weren't. And I think there's always going to be, well, that was you, and this is me. And you go, okay. Because that's all we can do as parents is we can tell them what is right. We can show them through modeling things, but we are not in charge of their decisions. Okay. And that is my last point. It's a great transition to that last point, parenting with grace, is that our children's mistakes do not reflect on us. Mind blow. When I came to that conclusion, I was able to love my children so much more freely, because when we feel like their decisions, and their stupid decisions, for example, one of my kids, I got an email from my Catholic school that I send my kids to. And it was literally like the opening. The teacher was like, well, we've never really had to deal with this before, but your son was chewing on the pew and I told him to stop and he didn't. So I'm going to write up this disciplinary sheet that they have, but I don't know how to categorize. Like, it was like so awkward. And I was like, oh my gosh. So like, it's embarrassing. Like when our kids mess up and they do stupid things, it's embarrassing. But we have to keep in mind, our Father in heaven is perfect. And we make stupid decisions. We as adults make stupid decisions. And it does not reflect poorly on him. He's perfect. He does it all right. And we still make mistakes. So I think as soon as we're able to separate their decision-making, their stupid decisions, from how it reflects on us as a parent, it frees us to laugh when they do stupid things instead of feel embarrassed, like it is what it is. And so I guess in a way, encourage to be open with your mistakes, because it doesn't make me look bad as a parent, because you're your own person. All I can do is love you and show you the way. And then when you mess up, show you how to get back up. Because if you're stuck in shame and you're stuck in this hiding place by yourself, we can't grow in love and we can't receive the grace God has for us. So those are my tips.
Great.
To help.
Fantastic. Bravo. Show us if you have a book you could lift up.
I do. Okay, so this is the author copy, but I wanted to show it to you because I have the second edition printed in color. And this is Bloom, by the way. This is for mothers and daughters. And I love it for so many reasons, but we hired a local watercolor artist to create these images. She has a daughter during this age, and she read this book, and she was able to help us come up with these really beautiful illustrations that deal with kind of what girls go through and what they're wondering about. So having it in color has always been a goal of mine, because it really captures the beauty of what we're trying to capture with Bloom. But it was just so expensive. And so eventually we just decided to publish it and charge a little bit more on Amazon. So the reviews on that are wonderful. If you have read Bloom and it's something that's meant something to you, please continue to write reviews. I mean, that's kind of our bread and butter. It's the way that we can pass on and advertise.
Yeah.
And then this is, yeah, you're like, me too, by the way.
We need them. It helps.
We do.
We need them for a lot.
As an author,
yeah.
that's the way you can say thank you. Like when you read a review for our heart and soul, what we've put out there, it's like balm to my soul. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing. And when a good review comes in, I'm like, maybe I'm not a failure. You know what I mean? Like there's something so affirming and so beautiful about it. So please, if for Amy's books and mine, if you like them, please write a review. And an honest one too. I mean, don't BS us, but okay. And so this is this is Level Up. So I have 3 boys. My family goes 3 boys, Grace, and then the boy girl twins. And so for a long time, I was a boy mom. I played pretend. We fought. We wrestled. We played video games. Minecraft was huge. Terraria. Now they do Roblox and all that stuff. So video games has always been a way that I connected with my boys, and they thought I was the coolest mom when I would like use video game lingo. She knows that? What? My mom's not like other moms. She understands video games. So there was always this like connection that I had. And as I was writing Bloom, I had so many moms say, I don't have daughters. I only have sons. What do you have for sons? I want to connect with my son. I want to love on him. Like, how do I do that? And so I decided to write Level Up because it uses video game examples and lingo to illustrate why our Catholic Church teaches what it teaches. So the whole goal of this is basically we're on a journey, just like a video game. You start your journey with minimal tools, and along the way you gain experience, you level up, you make your tools more effective.
Read this Level Up, or the parents and the boy?
Parents and boys, just like Bloom.
Okay.
Because again, we're wanting to foster connection. And so every chapter has a QR code that leads to the, I have my edits listed in here, but I have my, it's like a resource page. And so it's a prep page that moms go through, because boys, ever since they're younger, love food. I would say 99.9% of boys love food. And it's such a great way that moms can love on their kids is through food. And so literally this has themed snacks all throughout, and it's based on your son's preferences. So it is a way for you to learn about them and to love on them in their love language through food, through activities. So you prep, you have to come up with the snack and make it. And then you call your son to you, and you guys set aside a half hour. You're probably not going to use the whole half hour, especially given how quickly they eat. 5 minutes into it, they're probably going to be done. But it's basically 12 tuck-in times, or 12 date nights, or however you want to do it. You can do it weekly, you can do it monthly. It's depending on the I would not do it. I wouldn't do more than 1 per week. You want them to want it. You want them to sit and process all the things that you've discussed. But the prep work is key. And so moms can't just jump into it because it's not going to be as effective. you want to make sure that you're intentional about loving your son hard and really seeing him and listening to him. And almost every chapter has a printout. So you're able to kind of take notes on what your son does and what he likes, and all that's going to help you love him better next time.
Yeah. Do you think there's a way parents could use both your book and my book?
Absolutely. As I was reading through, I truly feel like, so with Bloom, I feel like this is going to be like their component. So I feel like I have created a online downloadable journal to go with this. Yours is way better. And I feel like this, I mean, like way better. Like I almost, like you and I are going to have to talk afterwards about me like selling this on my website, or at least linking to it, because this helps process a lot of that, not side by side, not exactly, but this is a great way for girls they can color this during Bloom as it helps them listen. This can be an icebreaker. This can be something that helps unfold and helps them process. Same thing with this. I mean, I was looking through this and I was like, are we the same person? Like, did we, how?
Same thing in the beginning.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I haven't created a journal for the boys to process this, and I'm not going to, because this is great. Like this is a great way of helping to kind of unfold a lot of what is going on in Level Up. It's just, this can be done more independent. This doesn't necessarily need to have the mom there. So this can help them kind of process. So I think they are a match made in heaven.
Yeah, that is so cool. And same thing with me. Like I wrote the girls' journal and everyone was like, well, where's the boys?
Yeah.
I was like, well, I wasn't going to write a boy's, but everybody's asking me.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, because moms do this stuff with our sons. Because I was like, well, maybe a guy will not write it.
I like called all my guy teacher friends and stuff, and I said, I can't do this without help, because clearly, I
wanted my husband to write Level Up.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't think guys are going to want to like read with their sons. Like, that's just not how guys relate. He's like, I'll write a guy's book to other guys and they read it and then they do something with their kids. But it's more of like a mom thing to be like, son, come and sit next to me and we'll drink some hot cocoa and read this together.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, okay, well, maybe there is a space for me to write this. And obviously for you to write the boy, be yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So you can get your books on Amazon.
Yes, Amazon. And then you can actually check out our family website. So we have a family ministry. It's called jumpincatholic.com. There's a ton of free downloads and free resources for families. There's a blog on Tuck and Time if you want to read a little bit more about what we do and some ideas. When you go to the front page, there's going to be a pop-up of being able to subscribe, and then you get a download that's free. It's 5 simple ways to strengthen marriage and family life. It's just got practical tips, what you can do, simple ways to incorporate new traditions for your families to kind of strengthen that marriage and family life in the Lord.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stacy. And
Thank you.
Yes, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, because I talk to people like Stacy who write books and create resources. And you'll see as you go through, it's so wonderful to find our charism and our talents and be able to share them with others.
Yeah.
And we all have something to share. And like, as some of Catholics Online is all about, connecting Catholics so that we can know when we meet other people who can help them. Like
that's your charism. That's what you do so well. You are a connector. You're able to give people like myself a platform. So thank you. Thank you for this channel. Thank you for Catholics Online. Thank you for all the things you do to foster these connections.
Well, this was, the Holy Spirit's alive, because I needed this as a mom.
Good.
So thank you.
I'm so glad.
I'm the cleanse.
I love it. Come, Holy Spirit.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
We're not the recording, but we'll talk later.
Okay. Thanks.
Buy those books, everybody. Bye.